Apache projects, which are Apache Shiro and Apache Maven. And yeah, I'm here to talk about the new funding project for Apache Maven.
So this is new to me. I hadn't heard about this until someone told me about it earlier today, I think, actually. So This is pretty exciting. I'm sure there's other open source projects that are funded in similar ways, but this one is funded from a government, and specifically for Apache Maven.
In Germany, the government set up a fund which is called Sovereign Tech Fund, and only German companies can apply for it. And those companies can apply for it to give out money to, for example, paid developers to work on a specific open source project, maybe their own developers or other developers from around the world. And we figured out that Log4j was already funded by this project. And Hendrik Ebbers thought of Apache Maven, which is, well, really common tool to use with a Java universe, and it is downloaded 100 million times a year, and it is still maintained by volunteers only. So yeah, that seemed like a reasonable goal to fund.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody should be funding the open source projects we use, right? Whether it's paying developer salaries or paying into one of these funds.
Yeah.
You know, software is free, but developers' time still takes time, especially things that can have security vulnerabilities or general updates or whatever. But so this fund is technically open for every project or any open source project?
It must be a German company who applies for the fund. This is one restriction, but the money can go anywhere from the German company. So, for example, we got the support of UPIC from France, and we have Romain Maniboucaud, who will work with us on Apache Maven.
Awesome. So is the money like target based? So if I'm a company, do I just put money in this fund because I use Maven, or is it I want to, I have a feature request and I want to hire someone to do that?
So actually, the money gets in the fund from the German government. So the German government is setting up the fund. And we can apply for the fund and draw money from it. But we have to define milestones, which have to be fulfilled in a transparent way. And only part of the money can go for organization and non-technical stuff.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so I think we talked about this earlier, and I thought I understood, but this is even better. So the government is setting aside money.
Exactly.
And then companies who are dedicated to pushing open source projects forward can apply to get the money out. Or the German company that's sponsoring the change or whatever it is can apply to get money
Exactly,
out. Great, and now there are a couple of Maven companies or people who are supporting Maven that are doing this.
Exactly, yeah.
Great, is there anything specific that we know of that are earmarked for these changes, or is this super new and we're excited about what's happening?
So I made this public only last week on the Apache mailing list, so it's really brand new, and we have set up a GitHub repository under the organization name Open Elements, and there's a project where we have started GitHub discussions, so we can still change the goals of this project funding Apache Maven. And we can still shift the way the project goes.
All right, so this is great. So I'd love to keep talking about Maven, but it's exciting that it's for all these open source projects that we all depend on too, right?
So other companies could apply as well and fund other open source projects, but they have to apply.
Yes, that makes sense. So were you involved in this initial application with the government?
I think it's being sent out in the next few weeks, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken there. I can tell you more about the contents and what we want to achieve with Apache Maven.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what are that? Is there concrete things that you want to see move forward?
Yes, there are. For example, we have Maven 4 on the doorstep. No? So we will release beta 1 very soon. And now the question was, what will happen with users who are still using Maven 3.9, for example, or earlier versions? And one idea of us was to fund another year of Maven 3.9 maintenance. So this is a goal which is probably interesting to companies who can't make the transfer as fast as maybe private users. And other ideas were about modularization, for example, JPMS support. And yeah, there are a lot of ideas actually in the discussions waiting for input.
Great. I know I personally think the Java module support is pretty poor. The tooling around the Java module system is pretty poor. So I would love to see some better tooling around that in general. But yeah, specifically Maven 4, I'm super excited for Maven 4 and everything that brings. So getting that over the finish line would be great. And then you mentioned support for Maven 3.9, which seems like it's, I mean, Maven 3 came out quite a few years ago at this point, but Maven 9, you know, is obviously newer, but it'll be great to let those companies still get the support they need for Maven 3 versus Maven 4.
Yeah, exactly. So the actual idea is to put a time window or time frame on the support. So as of now, only the latest version of Maven is actively supported. So if you're still on 3.8, it will not get any new updates. Everyone's working on 3.9 and 4.0 by now. But with this fund, we have the opportunity to say, okay, we will fund Maven 3.9 for, let's say, another year, perhaps. And so we have like security that we will get security updates for at least 1 year. That's just an example, of course.
Oh, that's a very important example, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the best things and one of the worst things that happened in the Java community is that everyone supports Java 8.
Yeah.
Right? Amazon, I think, announced it originally. Azul and all these other companies support Java 8 for forever at this point, which is great, right? We don't want to drop support. There's a lot of companies using Java 8, but it also means that nobody's forced to move forward. So setting a time limit on this seems like a reasonable thing to do.
Well, it is open source. You can use it as long as you want. You can use it for the next 10 years if you like, and you can create your own patches if you must. But talking about Java 8, you're speaking of a very, very important thing. Recently, we had a vote on the minimum Java version for Apache Maven 4, which will be Java 17. And we might even raise it to 21 very soon. So maybe sooner than later, I don't know yet. You can still compile to Java 8, of course, with Java 17 running Maven. But there are so-called aligners who want the same version for running Maven as for their bytecode output, and they will probably stay at Maven 3 for a while.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially moving forward. I'm actually excited about the minimum requirement to not be Java 8 anymore. I think Java 8 is great, right? But it's, as someone who maintains libraries, it's a little trying to stay behind, you know, multiple major versions behind, because then not only do you have to support the older versions, your libraries that you need to consume are more limited because they're moving forward.
Exactly.
And you also have to test with all the newer versions, so it just adds a lot more work to the project maintainers. Well, great. Is there anything else you want to add about the Maven support?
So we already have a website which is online, but it's not indexed yet by Google, so it's a little bit tricky to get you there. The best way is probably to go to github.com and go to the organization Open Elements with capital E, no dash in between, and there's a repo Maven funding. There's everything you need to know about the project. And there's, of course, lots of information and questions on the mailing list. And you're welcome to add even more questions. You're very welcome to join the discussions. And yeah, we are happy to receive your input.
Awesome. So Open Element on GitHub. Yeah. The repo name is Maven Support.
Something. Maven care and support. Maven-care-support.
All right. It'll be obvious. It will be obvious.
Yeah, it will be obvious.
Yeah, okay. So great. So check that out. And so once again, thanks, Benjamin, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank
All
you.
right, bye, everyone.
Bye.